Polo, right. Or, I mean, really, if we want to get into it, it's yachting, right? Sailing. If you're going to race sailing, then you've really, But in that sense, rowing kind of continues with that long British aristocratic continuum. So I love the fact that, like, even in my, like, high school clubs, people were very polite. And, like, you raced and you had your race, and then afterwards you shook people's hands and you were kind. Right? There's that, like, and people bring this up in basketball, football, blah, 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 all the normal traditional American sports all the time. But at the same time, that's not like the norm conversation. You still talk about, like, them in a negative term, and you run to beat them, blah, 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 blah. And it always seems superficial, and it always struck me as superficial. But when I went rowing, it was so genuine. It was very much part of the culture. And so fast forward to now, when I started doing x-terra, I never really got that in the WTC scene. Like the pre-race, the pro briefings, everybody's a little more kind of like to themselves, don't want to talk, clam up a little bit. And then you go to the x-terra elite briefings and people are cracking jokes, and like everybody's sort of like, it's like a high school reunion that there happens to be a race the day after. And it caught me off guard immediately. And then over the course of this year, this is my first year really racing consistently in this pro field. Like, people have been so nice, and everybody has been like, doesn't matter if you beat them or you lose to them or whatever. But so that sense has really hooked me into x-terra too on the personal front, because, and I see, not only just in the pro field, which obviously is like a much smaller community, but the age group field at large. Even when I did 3 of them as an age grouper before I went pro, and like same situation there. Like the kindness was just much more upfront and politeness than I could have imagined. It's often kind of like, first time you witness it, it's a little like off-putting. You're like, whoa, okay, are they actually genuine? And then it's like, oh yeah, they are.
Why are you so nice to me? I don't understand.
Why is it pretty cool? Yeah, like for instance, in Victoria, it was my second pro race, and like I was clowning around with Josiah Middaugh, who like a well-established, like multiple world champion in x-terra, like been doing it for 20 years. Like I was probably in first grade when he was like getting into his first pro races in x-terra, and just him like talking to me like an equal and being nice. It's just like, wow, I never would have expected that. Whereas, and I'm not saying guys like Lionel are rude or anything, but you go to a WTC elite race and like try to chat up Lionel about like life, the universe, and he's not gonna. It's just different. It's a different culture. But I know, and like I'm saying, it's not necessarily bad or worse, but it's just, so I prefer the x-terra one over that. So, but all of those combined, I think, really were what makes the experience and the product from a business standpoint much more genuine. It's just it doesn't it suffers in the overall marketing scheme of triathlon in general, but like I think that'll change because it's such a good, consistent product. So we'll see. We're gonna have this conversation again in 10 years and see what's happened. But I mean, if you look at x-terra's growth, really, it's pretty damn good compared to what it was 10 years ago. So and the expansion races in Europe and Asia are really going well because they're done relatively consistently. But I digress. So I could talk the business side and my political opinions on the sport for far too long. I'm sure your audience does not want to hear.
No, I mean, no, it's all right. It's all right. Right. I haven't had anybody on that races x-terra, so I mean, it's interesting to me, but it's like the culture is always interesting to me because I grew up, I played soccer and community soccer. We couldn't afford like private clubs or anything. 3rd grade, 4th grade, played softball. And then got into running in middle school because I always wanted to play midfield in soccer because I liked running up and down the field more than everybody else. So I just took that idea and moved it into running. But I always noticed in running, cross country meet, and my dad would always remark on this, just parents at a cross country meet are like the most polite people you've ever met. Like it's not this like, oh, I'm gonna beat you, I'm gonna like destroy you thing. It's like everybody, you want to win, but everybody is out there like support each other.
Right.
And I
Yeah.
noticed that too with triathlon. It's just like
Yeah.
same thing. You go to a race, hey, where's this? Where's that? I have people ask me stuff all the time, and I'm like, yeah, it's over there. Like people that have never, this is their first race. It's
Right.
like, okay, I've been doing this triathlon for I can't 10 years now, 11 years now.
Right.
And somehow people know to ask me questions. I don't know if there's a sign on my head or what it is, but it's like I don't feel that way, and I don't think anybody else feels that way. Or it's like, no, like I'm racing like the elite amateur field. Like, stay away from me. I'm special or whatever. It's like, no, it's great you're out. Hope you have a good time. So I mean, it's good to see like that kind of mentality is pervasive elsewhere besides just in like the circles I'm in.
Yeah, I think, and I think that's always. Let me put it this way. I think to somewhat clarify, I think that's always there. It's just certain events in certain places tend to bring out different aspects of that. So,
Yeah.
if you go to your local sprint try, I think that's one of the best experiences in the sport, right? For everybody involved, like elite to the first time racer, everybody's just super nice,
Yeah.
right? That's kind of from a community sense, the sort of like, perfect little thing, like little sphere. I think that premise somewhat shifts when we get into the larger, more competitive races where people feel there's things at stake. I mean, I think, that when you start going to something like age group nationals or something where everybody's going and like has an invested interest in doing well, then perhaps, not saying that there's an aspect of maliciousness, but then the competitive vibe supersedes the other vibes that are associated with the community. But I think that's not particularly surprising to people. But yeah, my one, and to finish up my extolling of x-terra's virtues as a sort of like proselyte for the x-terra cause, my evangelical x-terra mission here, I would say that, and this isn't even just an x-terra thing. This is like all, like, look at the boom in gravel, right? The boom in gravel in the cycling industry is just totally related to a pushback against roadie elitism and roadie culture at races, which is it's much worse than triathlon. But triathlon still has that elitism element in it. And gravel and mountain bike are just winning the economic war because people are like, these events still just deliver this nice experience. And so I would say our off-road triathlon scene is very, very much in line with that movement towards fun and happiness kind of for everybody. And then dirt, I don't know. Is there something magical in dirt that, like, as soon as you ride a bike off road, that everybody's just like cooler and drinks more beer afterwards? I mean, the latter point is certainly true, but I don't know. I think just off road in general seems to bring out the best in people. So I don't know. Maybe that's something to do with the in tuneness with nature. I mean, I don't know. I'm not really a natural metaphysicist, so you can't ask me that.
No, it makes you wonder about like kind of the link between competitiveness and kindness. There was an event I went to. Your camera flipped around. You're right. I don't know if you can see it behind me. I got my beaver trophy there in the very top.
Oh, I like it.
So that was probably one of the most fun races I did. I flew out to Cleveland, and then my buddy and I drove from Cleveland to, I don't know, somewhere in Pennsylvania, is it? Anyway, it was like an hour outside of Cleveland. We had to go like 4 a.m. to get there. It's this like YMCA sponsored race that had an elite amateur field with cash, which is kind of hard to find. And just like the most fun race. Like they had little like placards for like the elite amateurs to put on their bikes, and afterwards it was like, it wasn't, you go to an Ironman race, you get like cheap pizza afterwards to serve everybody, which I understand. They've got a lot of people to feed, but this was like they went down to the street to like Bob's Barbecue and got like ribs, and everybody was just super nice. And then they're like there was like an award for people that traveled the farthest to get there, which I won because I was from Missouri all the way in nowhere in Pennsylvania.
Right.
But it's just yeah, everybody was just like out there having fun. Like the men and women started together for that elite amateur wave, so that was kind of like different. And we're all swimming together because in the water you're the same speed. Anyway, so I'm thinking about like competitiveness and kindness, and it's like I think when the like you said when the stakes are lower, like in a community event like that, the Dam Try, um, it's easier just to be like we're out here having fun, like we're competing, we're trying, but like even if I have the worst day of the world, okay, like there's another day, but like a national championship, well the stakes are raised, and now
Right.
there's only one a year, and everybody comes together and everybody trains all year for this one thing. Um, so
Or in the case of Ironman events, they're just so long, right? So you only
right,
have 3 bullets in the chamber, and you're gonna shoot them on these 3 days, and that's it, man. Like
yeah,
so there's a much more of a like, don't mess with me, like this is me, blah blah blah. Um, Whereas, like, right, you come over and race mountain bikes and stuff, like, there's a ton of races. People
yeah,
race all the time. So yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that's the competitiveness factor is a link. I don't think it's the entire situation,
mm-hmm.
but well, also, I mean, look at it from this standpoint. Like, especially in Ironman, when we're seeing all of these races go to places like, what is it, Des Moines, and it's just like, okay, great, like very flat races that are just not, I'm sure people argue with me. It's like, well, there's these turns and this, that, and ultimately the course is sterile. Whereas when you come race a course that's dynamic, that's challenging, everybody just mostly feels good to get through the course. I'll tell you, like, you go race x-terra, Utah, and you're going to climb 3,900 feet. 3,900 feet. You like literally nonstop climbing for an hour and like 10 minutes for like the top guys. Everybody's happy just to live. Like, nobody died today. Great. Like, I didn't completely pass out in exhaustion when I finally just finished the mountain bike and then realized I had to, run up 1,300 feet over a 10K. Oh, yeah, and it's also all over giant chunky rocks. Like, everybody's getting through that just being like, oh my God, I got through it, sort of thing. So I guess to go back to our point a few minutes ago, like, the dynamicism of course is very interrelated to the overall experience. I mean, I did look. I raced mountain bikes some. The Epic Ride series, like the Whiskey 50, Carson City Off Road, the Oz Trails, like these are some of the most popular events in cycling in this country. And it's like the turnout for the Whiskey 50 in Prescott, Arizona is massive, like sell out, massive thousands of people out having fun on trails. And like, there's grumbling like, oh, there's not enough room for people, blah, 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 blah. But like overall, the vibe is just it's like a party where a race broke out. And from the top, very tippy top to those like great athletes to everybody at the back who did it on a fat bike and had 9 beers in the middle of the ride, like that product is really popular. Whereas, you look at like a road race, they're just dying. Like road cycling is dying. I mean, the tour, like the 2 ones we have down in Tucson, these big races with like pro fields, one of them's dried up and the other one's attendance is down to like 200 people. It's like, come on. Well, obviously you're missing the bus here. Whereas this like, mountain bike race in Prescott is garnering what 7 times, 8 times your turnout. It's I think the veritable wins are very much changing here, and I think x-terra is going to be on the favorable side of this winds is blowing in cycling and really blowing in running as well. That Spartan races have caught on to, and I don't think triathlon's immune from this. So I don't know. I've at least bet on x-terra, and I have gave my case that I think other people should come over. 1, because it's freaking fun, and 2, it's challenging as all hell, and 3, I think ultimately your overall satisfaction with the community on it will be better than anything else you've tried. But again, I suppose that's just my my pitch for the sport.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think about it from like a product standpoint. Like what? So triathlon is composed primarily of middle-aged men with disposable income, right?
Of
So
course.
what? I mean, what are they after? They're after a few things, trying to recapture some of that like essence of youth and vitality of racing.
Sure.
They're after some sense of meaning because they're hitting that midlife crisis and they're like, what do I do now? Some of it's I've got this money and I need to stay in shape, so I might as well do this thing.
It's the
But
new golf.
right, but ultimately it's like you want to have fun if you're going to participate long term.
Right.
So if you're not doing that, then like you're going to drop off. So I think that's probably what's happening with cycling, where it's like if they're neutering the courses like Ironman is, then that sense of adventure, that sense of fun, where if you don't have a good day, you still had a good time. You don't have that good time anymore. You're
Right.
just not going to retain people.
Well, and cycling's hemorrhaging it. I mean, the crit system, or sorry, the crit system, the CAT system is ultimately slowly eating away the entire principle. I understand why it's there. I mean, it makes complete sense. I mean, you wouldn't ask me to redesign it. I can't. But ultimately, you know, there's all these, like, I don't know if you're on like a lot on Instagram, but like Cat 3 memes and these like meme pages about Cat 3 racers. It's just they're hysterical because they're so true. And the thing is, you like, you know, blast your way up to Cat 3 and then you're stuck because of the like serious performance jump, physical performance jump that's required to go race beyond that. But then you're seeing just this like tangible loss of fun. Yet people sort of have this like sunk cost fallacy about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so at least when you get to, and this is why gravel's exploding right now and mountain biking is booming amongst men and women, amongst a lot of economic backgrounds, right? Because the inclusiveness and the opportunity to go have fun. I mean, and I'll go back to my original point, like every time you ride a trail, it's different. I live on Papago Park here in Phoenix, so if anybody knows like Ironman Arizona, they've run through here, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. I've ridden probably, and this is a genuine conservative estimate, I've probably put in 1,400 miles, 12 to 1,400 miles in this park, right? And this is, I don't know, let's see, from the lake up to, you know, it's maybe 3 miles long by mile wide. And there's about, and I can get in 90-minute ride on single track mostly with a couple features that are interesting, blah, blah, blah. It's not super techy, but I have 300 feet of pavement to bike and then I'm there. So I don't like to drive my car to go ride. Like, come on. I have to sometimes, but I like this. But anyways, my point is like every one of those trails changes. And once you start becoming really in tune with that, like it makes every day out there different. Like I've had days out there where I just was like flying. I was like ripping over stuff. And I'm like, oh, whoa. Like my average speed for this ride was like 12.6, whereas like normally it's like 11. Whew, like the ground is different. And then, you know, we get to the end of summer, there hasn't been a lot of rain other than a few monsoons and things are blown out and like the corners suck and then they get some rain and everything changes. And like, you know, all of those aspects of the ride ultimately put into a intrinsic, like, you know, kind of subversive element in you to get into that world. Whereas when I just go ride roads, it's just like, okay, you know, it's still paved, tarmac's, you know, yep, it's hard, bike rolls over it. And this is ignoring the car factor too. So,
right.
You know, and I think gravel has that to an advantage too. It opens up possibilities. It's a little different. So I think that's all connecting to the fun element. And I think now what was USA Triathlon used to say a couple of years ago, the average salary of a USA team member is $114,000.
Something like that, yeah.
Right. So I think, you know, now that demographic, which is kind of the last ones to like throw the proverbial brick through the like window of revolution here, are starting to realize like, whoa, gravel bikes are a thing. And like, oh, there's other elements to this. And so as that faction weaves its way over, I think sports like x-terra and mountain biking are really there and are going to take off in a similar fashion to like what they kind of had that micro boom in the 90s with Bontrager and Tomac, sort of giving this idea like, yo, you can do a lot of cool stuff out here. So and it becomes more like man versus nature, that very like primal thing, as opposed to the man versus man competitive element. So yeah, there's a lot of factors, but I think like my own history of riding like the same trails a billion times and not hating them is a really good example of like, wow, there's still fun out there. And they, I mean, look, I've ridden these, like I said, maybe 1,400 miles, and like this summer I crashed twice on them because the corners were super blown out, and I didn't even expect them to be blown out. And so I leaned in super hard on something, and the next thing you know, it's like, well, that's a lot of blood. Like, so there's that aspect too. But anyways, I that's again, we're getting into the political machinations here, but
That's okay. I mean, that's kind of what I do. I get down a rabbit hole. Before we run out of time, I do want to ask you about life.
Sure.
Life as a bass player.
Yeah.
In part because you're doing two very time intensive things, because you're not just like a composition student where that's time intensive in and of itself in writing things, but like you play and perform, so which if you don't practice, you're gonna lose your chops. So it's like, how do you fit in all the time to both be a pro and perform?
It's like the $6 million question, right?
Right.
A lot of times I don't. Is that the horrible answer? I don't know. I guess
I'm now gonna give you
honest.
so I play the violin, so I have to give you a little bit of shit. Is it because you're a bass player, so you just have like, a couple like easy rhythms and you don't have to worry too hard?
I mean, it's very fair shit giving, to be honest. I think if any of God help me if any of my colleagues or professor hears this, but yeah, I mean, let's be honest, that's a part of it. Like as a bass player, if you're competent and you know what you're doing and you practiced a lot originally, like there's no orchestra like in the world you can't just pretty much go sit in and be like pretty much prepared for, and with minimal practice be good on, and all the hard licks, Strauss design Heldenleben, Beethoven 9, all the Mozart 35, blah 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 blah, all this long list of symphonic rep, like